Hey friends, this is Mike. Have you attended a funeral lately or any type of memorial service? I attended one today, and I have some thoughts and reflections viewed through this new prism that I now view life through as part of the Soul Unleashed process. Stand by. Hello again, friends and fellow truth seekers. Mike Nicholas here with another episode of the Soul Unleashed podcast, where my goal is to help you with the questions you might have regarding the awakening of your soul, and particularly to help other left brain types like I think I am, to ask the right questions in our search for deeper meaning to life. And ultimately, I want to help you unleash your soul from limiting beliefs and smothering paradigms. So let's get started with today's discussion. This is going to be a relatively short podcast, but I was struck by something today. I attended a funeral, and it was for a young woman. Everybody's young to me, but it was for a young woman who passed away. She's a mother of one of the children on the baseball team that my grandson plays on. And the point of this little discussion is, as I've been going through this soul awakening process and looking at things differently, I want to make it clear that none of what I've experienced or come to believe is in any way meant to denigrate or criticize organized religion. And I was raised Catholic, of course. The ceremony I attended today was in a Presbyterian church, but I've been to many, many other funerals. And the point is that there are good things about organized religion. And I don't ever want to say that, although I think that I've expanded beyond the limited concept of the limited paradigm I had growing up. And this whole point of this podcast is to help left-brainers like I am look at other things besides what we grew up with. But there's reasons for the Presbyterian Church, Catholic Church, many other faiths. From my little corner of the world and what I saw today, it was really very important. This lady had passed away from cancer after a long battle with cancer, leaving behind her son, who's, I think, 12 now. And she was well loved by the community and loved by the many mothers that were on the team, baseball teams that she was on, and her community. And the people that hosted the service today in the Presbyterian Church, they were both female pastors. They did a wonderful job. Again, for me, that was a little bit unusual after all this time now. Since I grew up Catholic, it's changed. But, growing up, of course, ministers and pastors to me were all men. But the two ladies today, young women, were excellent and just hit the exact right note in terms of what they said and the talk that they gave. And the ceremony itself was cathartic, of course, like I guess the ceremony's supposed to be. But what the community needed, the lady who passed, she's now in spirit and she's happy in spirit. I found myself thinking as I was looking around the church today, that she was there. I believe that now. I believe that my son was at his funeral when we did it. In fact, he commented to me a couple times, different mediums that I had been to, about things that happened at his service. And so I fully believe that the lady today was there at her service. And if her son or her relatives ever decide to see a medium and make contact with her that way, I expect she would express that to them. But that service today served a valuable purpose, brought together the community, allowed people to cry, to grieve, to share, to hug, to love on one another. And that is really important. And I'm bringing that up. I'm sure many of you are thinking, well, duh, of course, that's the way it's supposed to be. But the Soul Unleashed thing and the different spiritual paradigm that I've started to embrace is kind of a lonely journey, actually. There aren't churches out there, well, there are churches out there, I guess, I haven't found them yet, of people who are spiritualists. I think maybe the one that comes closest is the Universal Unitarian or Universalist Church. I can't even say it right. But there is a church that I know is more open spiritually to those kind of things. And there's churches that aren't even necessarily Christian, where people get together to share spiritual concepts or or be together. And there's circles and prayer circles, and I'm reading a book by a lady who deals with things called walk-ins, which are souls coming into your body, which is a whole another woo-woo thing out there I'll discuss in a future podcast. But I bring that up because she gets her sustenance or her spiritual energy, help, assistance, whatever, from the people in this group, and it's kind of a small group. And she calls them her sisters or her I don't think she calls it a prayer group, but some type of support group. My point, however, is that if it's not organized like the Presbyterian Church or the Catholic Church or the Episcopalian Church, I think it's harder for people to find that kind of support. And so I think there's a really important role for organized religion. I must use the expression heaven knows or God knows, but I guess I still can. I mean, God knows that organized religion has been certainly criticized justly for a lot of the things that and failings that they've had. Certainly the Catholic Church has a checkered history, as do most religions. Anything that's run by, conceived by men or women, is bound to be, by definition, human, error prone. And organized religion certainly fits that bill. But today, seeing how it worked and how it helped these people, I think it was a really good thing. So I suppose to put it in another way, if you're experiencing a spiritual awakening, my humble advice to you left-brainers out there like me is don't quit your day job. Kind of hang in there with your with the religion that you have. I know there's some people, my own relatives, a few of them, have completely just disconnected from organized religion and focus solely on the spiritual awakening that they're going through. And they may get support in one or two places from one or two people. But for me, and the way that I'm doing it, is I'm still plugged into my faith in terms of going to Mass. I don't go to Mass every week like I used to, but I believe there's a reason and a purpose for that. And when I do go to church, I pay attention to the readings, and I try to, I'm there because I want to be there. I'm not there because I have to be there. I'm there because I want to learn and listen and absorb what's happening and appreciate it for what it is, an opportunity to worship deity. And that's all a good thing in my book. All this gets back to why we're here. And since we're having this little discussion and kind of touching this topic, I just want to go back over some of the ways my feelings have changed. I had believed that, and I believed in salvation, right? That in Jesus Christ, and that my soul needed to be saved, and that the way to heaven was through Jesus Christ and being saved. I think now I believe in reincarnation. I believe that our soul gets multiple opportunities to come to this environment, this earth school, if you will. And what is the purpose of being here? What is the purpose of life? Many people refer to God as source. So I'll refer to him as God for right now, but God is experiencing, source is experiencing existence through all the untold billions of souls that are out there. All of us play a role in that experience. And so we're incarnated here on this earth with a soul. We're a soul using a body for this experience. And when we die, our souls will go someplace else and be still around us after we die. Just like I said, I fully believe that my son was at his funeral, watching what was going on. His body died, but his soul did not. And then we go into some type of rest and recuperation for our souls. I've heard it described as a soul review. My son, through a medium, described it as a soul review to me. And then after that soul review, we plan our life out again, and then we decide to reincarnate. And there's a group of other souls that makes an agreement with us for certain lessons to be learned. And we help them with certain lessons, but it's all planned out before we come into this life. How does free will play into that? We have choices as we go through that plan to make choices. And we know all this when we come into this life, but we forget about it. There's like a veil that drops, and we no longer remember all the stuff we knew when we came down here, which is probably a darn good idea, right? If I came here knowing, you came here knowing everything you'd experienced before, and you'd been a man before, and you'd been a woman before, and you'd been poor and rich before it, and you had all those experiences, you wouldn't experience this life like you need to suffer and learn. Not that you need to suffer, but that you have to go through the school and learn the lessons, and sometimes it's difficult. The primary reason I think we're here, though, is to experience, remember who we are, and to share love with those around us. It's about the sharing of love that is important, and to be of service to people. Even Jesus Christ, when he was here, and is quoted in the Bible as saying, when they asked him what the greatest commandment was, he said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." And the second part of it is love your neighbor as yourself. And it all focuses around love. And so I think we're here to experience that, to share that love, but to provide experiences to source, to God. I really struggle with all this stuff too, with everything that's going on in the world and all the terrible things right now. You know, you're listening to it, you know what the date is, but years from now, for anybody listening to this way in the future, it's 2023, in November 2023, and there are some very difficult things going on in the world, particularly over in the Middle East, with Israel and Gaza and Hamas and atrocities, and it makes you wonder, you know, so many children that are dying in this thing, you know, those that were massacred by Hamas and those that are dying in the war in Gaza. These are souls that must have contracted this agreement before they came into this world, right? If I believe that that's the way it worked out, that's the way it's supposed to work, then I've got to believe that they knew coming into this life that that's what their potential was. They had the possibility that they might die as infants or die as babies. What they learned from that, I don't know. I don't understand any of that. And maybe their mission coming in and dying at such a young age or in such a horrible way was meant to teach somebody else something, that they sacrificed this life that they could teach others. That's way beyond me, and probably another few hours of reading St. Augustine or something before I talk about that some more. I just get a little bit upset even discussing it. But I do believe that's the whole soul group and soul journey thing, that's how it works. And just to wrap this up and go back to the funeral today, I do believe there's a role for organized religion, whatever your religion is. You know, don't give it up if you're going through a spiritual awakening. There are good things that come from that religion, unless you're suffering somehow or you're being abused somehow or it's not serving you somehow. But there are organized groups that you can join and be a part of and get what you need from that: community, love, support, those kind of things. I think those are important. And even though I'm a big proponent of waking up and looking at these other truths spiritually, I think that there's a real reason to stay plugged in to your faith community, whatever that is. So that's all for today. Thank you. Again, I've got a number of interviews coming up next week, which I think will be really interesting. Some very interesting people. And we'll talk more in a future podcast about this whole walk-in soul thing, which, man, I thought that was like comic book stuff, but a lot of people take it seriously. And, you know, my role as I see it is to help you understand some of these things and where they come from, and at least from my perspective, helping you to understand that. Thank you. If you'd be kind enough to rate the podcast or leave a review, that'd be terrific. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.